Welcome to Stuck, Time to Improv. I'm Mary Scott with Business Riff, and I want startups to be wildly successful. Having good marketing tools is very essential for startups. And today I'm very happy to have Bobbie Carlton from Innovation Women, who is a speaker extraordinaire. Thanks for coming, Bobbie.
Thanks for the invitation, Mary.
So let's talk about using speaking as a marketing tool.
One of the things I usually talk to people about is how it's not just the speaking, but it's all the different things that get you up onto the stage. And it's also the path to the stage, which helps you with your marketing overall. So it's not just the connections in the room when you do your presentation, it's all the visibility and the connections leading up to it.
And whether you're speaking to potential customers or potential investors, you need to have done some practicing, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I usually reach out specifically to people who self-identify as introverts because I think they are usually awesome when it comes to being prepared and practicing, whereas somebody who has spent their entire life being told they're an extrovert and how it comes naturally will often be more inclined to wing it. And wing it and public speaking rarely work out well.
Not unless you're Robin Williams or someone who really gets improv, right?
Yes, and I'm sure it still took him many years to get to the stage he was in his later years.
Oh, that's for sure. So how should a startup business approach speaking?
When we're talking about speaking and startups in the same breath, I find that it's always helpful to identify the difference between pitching and speaking. So there are lots of opportunities to pitch your startup. Maybe you're doing local pitch contests or even national or international pitch contests where you're standing up and pitching your specific company. That's a very, very different thing than public speaking opportunities where you're perhaps going to an industry conference or an event and you are not necessarily pitching, but you are speaking about a topic, knock on wood, related to your startup and what it is you're doing.
Right? Like how something is a big problem and what can be done to solve it, including what your company does.
Right. If you stand up when you are doing a presentation and you deliver a sales pitch, you do tend to turn off the audience and you rarely get invited back. So understand when you are going to a conference or an event, whether the expectation is you will be delivering a pitch, which could double as a sales presentation, or if you are delivering a presentation, which should not be a pitch.
Presentations are something that I deal with startups with all the time. And it's not so much about your secret sauce as it's about who do you help? What problem do you solve for them? And what benefit do they get out of having solved that problem?
I usually tell people that if you are able to stand up at a conference and solve your audience's pain, you are a winner in my book. That is the type of thing that you want to do when you're doing a presentation or a pitch. Every pitch should always start with what is the problem being solved. So definitely still you need to understand the difference between pitches and presentations, but there are some relations.
And people should always come out of a presentation feeling better and not just because they got a nap.
Oh, it's always painful if you watch somebody taking a nap at the back of the room and there's someone
Well,
presenting on stage.
there's nothing worse than a PowerPoint at 11 o'clock in the morning where the speaker just reads the slides.
Oh, no, no. We have to understand that as speakers, we're also kind of channeling our entertainers as well. So you have to be able to capture people's attention keep that attention and also give them something that they can use. You want to have a takeaway that is actionable. I always tell people if I have gone to see a presentation and I walk out of the room with just a single thing that I can use, I am a happy audience member.
That's absolutely true. So, Bobbie, you've been speaking for a really long time. Do you remember back when you were a young speaker, what was a piece of advice you got that was really valuable?
I spent my earlier career putting other people on stage. It's still what I'm very focused on. Yes, I do some speaking myself, but I do a lot more work putting other people on stage. And I think, the valuable advice would be to get comfortable with public speaking, however it is you end up doing that, whether it's through practice, whether it's through repeated exposure to the stage, however you can kind of work through your own comfort on that stage, you're going to be better off.
Right. And organizations like Toastmasters can provide you with that sort of warm, fuzzy space to do that kind of practicing.
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm more inclined to recommend that people take an improv class than going to Toastmasters because, again, I'm focused on comfort on stage. And I
Mhm.
find that improv classes are a terrific way to get comfortable, to understand systems that will allow you to problem solve and feel comfortable while you're on stage. Um, I have to admit, some of the Toastmasters events that I have been to have been a little overly focused on things like filler words. And filler words, for some people, evokes uh, nervousness and it gets them very focused on each individual word that is coming out of their mouth versus the entire experience.
Right. And I highly recommend improv as well for speaking, for life, if you're dealing with teenagers, because when you start with agreeing with someone and adding to it, there's no argument and it confuses a teenager. But that's just
Got it. All right. So
anything else you really want to let people know about this?
I think one of the things that I usually talk to people about when they are startups is figuring out the type of audience that they want to speak to. And here's what I'm talking about when it comes to that. I have a very extensive background in public relations. That's how I make a living. That's, actually my day job. I have a bunch of small companies that I own. So a lot of people, and they wouldn't be wrong, would say, "Oh, you should go and speak at the Public Relations Society of America." And I said, "Well, yes, I have spoken at some of their events, but it's not my target right now. My target is more oriented toward events where I'm speaking to startups, where I'm speaking to groups of professional women, so I'm looking more for my customers than I'm looking to speak to my competition, which is what I would find at the PRSA versus a startup event where I would potentially find customers and partners. So think very carefully about the stages you want to target and the places you want to be seen.
Well, that is excellent advice. And thank you so much, Bobbie Carlton from Innovation Women, which is, by the way, an excellent organization if you want to get speaker friends and real nitty gritty stuff about how to become a really good speaker. So thanks again, Bobbie. I'm
Absolutely.
Mary Scott with Business Riff. I want startups to be wildly successful. And one of the best things you can do to accomplish that is book a call with me at businessriff.com. And join us again next time for Stock Time to Improv.